Hi, my name is Alcanne Houtzaager and I blog about impact investing, inclusive impact investing, so for small investors and not for institutionals or billionaires. My blog is in Dutch, so I vlog to open up the content because most of the articles and reports that I review are actually in English, and you always find links to the original reports on my blog. Also, I have a couple of English articles I wrote about the impact indicator for investment products that I developed and mapping impact investing to explain the impact investing universe for small investors. Those pieces you will find in English on my blog. This vlog is about impact investing news March 1st. And we have exciting inclusive impact investing news because Oikocredit has lowered its threshold. Oikocredit was founded 40 years ago by the World Council of Churches, and for 40 years it has invested in smallholder farmers and SMEs in developing countries. It's a revolving fund. It grew to over $600 million US, and it pays out only 1.55% to reinvest, but it's a very constant payer. Now you don't have to buy a bond anymore. In Holland you can actually invest 10 euros a month. So that is a very inclusive, and what I did is that I changed my donation into an investment every month. They could also go to the stock exchange. That would make them really inclusive, internationally speaking. More inclusive impact investing news because Triodos Bank is participating in a crowdfunding platform. The crowdfunding platform specializes in renewable energy deals. It's sort of opening up large, exclusive renewable energy deals to small investors because it's a crowdfunding platform and it has government approval. I always look for that when I crowdfund for impact. Now, I find it really interesting that Triodos Bank is participating in this crowdfunding platform. Last year, we saw another super sustainable bank, ASN, team up with One Planet Crowd. They organized an upscaling funding round for this platform in their community, and that went really well. They got $1 million, I think, and this year they're going to collaborate on the prospects on the crowdfunding platform. That the banks are doing this, I find really interesting because at the time I was appealing to Dutch charities to team up with crowdfunding as a way to get growth capital for their beneficiaries, their donations into impact investees or social enterprises. Why not team up with crowdfunding as an instrument or as a platform to get growth capital for your investees? Now, there is a possible explanation, which I found in a report which was written in 2013, and that is that the Dutch crowdfunding market is a little bit exceptional, and that is that we have a very high percentage of donations. So Dutch charities maybe think that if they team up with crowdfunding for return or rewards, but really preferably either interest or participation, that they might lose some of their donations through this instrument. I saw the country profile in a report on crowdfunding by Tonic, which is the informal impact investors community, and ACN, the European Crowdfunding Network. And they wrote a report and looked into threshold for the upscaling of this market. And of course, since then, things have moved really, really fast. We have seen half a hospital crowdfunded in 2015, 10 million euros for a hospital in an isolated area. The Dutch crowdfunding market grew to 128 million euros, which is actually double what it did in 2014. Another interesting report was on business angels in Europe, also with country profiles. I looked at the Dutch country profile. We have a couple of investor circles, and it's guesstimated that together they invest about 200 million. And since the crisis, of course, the growth has slowed down a little bit, mainly through liquidity and a lack of profits in their previous investments. But they also see young, successful entrepreneurs entering the business angel arena. And also they are welcome to invest with banks and capital venture funds. So you see business angels sort of climbing up the investment ladder, which is good news because business angels and young entrepreneurs are more inclined to be impact investors. On the Business Angel website, I also found a report on Dutch impact investors from 2013. I sort of participated, never really heard anything about it later on. It's not very complete and it's also a little bit outdated, but you will find some names and even links to investors. Also their focus. Also the long list is very interesting. So please look in the guide and don't, connect with me on LinkedIn to see if I have any, really wealthy impact investors in my network. On the media that I found interesting last month, there was an article by the vice president of the Small Investors Association, who is going a little bit crazy about sustainable investing. He says that we have this sort of ethical revolution going on with our institutional investors, where even sustainable super status companies are not safe anymore from ESG integration. He complains about, blacklisting sustainable companies. And I think he sort of refers to the divesting a fossil fuel campaign. Then again, he also sees opportunities for ruthless investors to, get really low prices for these unpopular companies. What can you say? Too bad for our kids and our grandchildren. And this association, they never wrote about impact investing in the last 4 years. And when they talk about sustainable, it's always about constant dividend and never about the bigger picture. So I'm not a member. I found an interesting piece by Jem Hudson. She's an impact investing promoter. She graduated at Wharton and she blogs on their webpage. Wharton is actually quite active in the field of impact investing. Last year they published a report with Cambridge Associates about the returns of impact investments. And Jem also points out that it was a watershed year, 2015, with some big moves by Bain Capital, by BlackRock, by Goldman Sachs. And for this year, she is sort of wondering whether impact investing is going to change the financial markets, or the financial markets are going to change impact investing. And being Dutch, I'd say, both will happen, and probably that's a good thing, because we do want impact investing to get a lot bigger than sustainable investing got over the last 40 years. The last piece I read, I did another 10 cases of impact investing charities from the Mission Markets Guide, the essentials of impact investing for small staffed foundation. My absolute favorite ones are an investment by IDP Foundation, which is sort of a 1, 2, 3 stepping thing. First they gave a donation, then they gave a 7-year 7% loan, a 7-year 0% loan, and then a 3-year 12% loan, which, if you leave aside the gift, actually on this $1 million loan makes a 3.6% return, which is good. It was for the Ghanaian Rising Schools program. Another impact investor that struck me very progressive was Laughing Gull. They invest in LGBTQ activities. LGBTQ, it's lesbian, gay, transgender, queer, I suppose. Actually, in Holland, we have a foundation that sort of does the same. Mama Cash. They support LGBTQ foundations in their fundraising upscaling. I like the Triple E investments in the financial crisis. They took some convincing, because our financial guides were a bit hesitant, but they invested in mortgage bonds because they figured that having low-income families keep their houses was part of their mission. So they invested in this, and they actually, where they could, under guarantee programs, always voted for renegotiations of the mortgages instead of foreclosure. And the last case, which is like a super impact policy case, is Swift Foundation. They have a very sophisticated strategy and tactics on exclusion and geographical and sectoral inclusion, impact investing. They were aided by amplifier strategies for charities. And I would really advise you to look into their strategy. I mean, it's like one of our super sustainable banks doing it. It's really impressive. And of course, because there's always this synergy in my blog, the last piece is on Root Capital, which is one of Swift Foundation's investees. Now, Root Capital was founded in 2000 by Willy Foote. It invests in smallholder farmers, SMEs in Latin America and Africa now. During the crisis, they devoted their time to technical assistance and improving management skills. That's a part of their work that you can also donate to. And this year, their 15th year, they will actually, and this is cumulative, loan out their first $1 billion to a smallholder farmer somewhere. Now that is maybe a small step in capital markets, but it certainly is a big step for impact investing. So congratulations, Mr. Willy Foote. And that wraps it up for Impact Investing News March 1st. If you have any suggestions or questions or you want to pick my brain, do contact me, preferably through Twitter or LinkedIn. Thank you.